Hey everybody, this is Julie, the main stamper. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I'm back with another video in my series called Mondays Are Hard, Stamping Shouldn't Be. And today's Monday card is Christmas in July themed. I love Christmas. So this is a beautiful card made with a pine tree or a Christmas tree. And we are making this card today with a brand new stamp set called In the Pines. So this is a new stamp set that is going to be available in the August to December 2020 mini catalog. Lots of pine trees. This is an awesome stamp set. I love it. Now, if you're thinking it's only a Christmas stamp set, that is not correct. It actually has two sentiments in it. We have thinking of you and season's greetings. So you can use it, yes, for Christmas cards, and yes, for nature themed cards, masculine cards, thinking of you cards, birthday cards, anything you want to put a tree on, you can use this stamp set. So it's got tremendous value. You can use it year round. And as always with our one stamp set for our card, we are using two colors of ink. We've got Memento and we've got Shaded Spruce today. So we're getting that green of Christmas going on here. Our two colors of cardstock are Shaded Spruce and Whisper White. So as always, one stamp set, two ink pads, two colors of cardstock, and one super fast and fun card. Now this one goes together like I always say on a Monday card, super quick and easy. It is hot in the craft room right now. We are in the middle of July. So this one is minimal stamping and it goes together really fast. So follow me and let's get stamping. Okay, so to get started, we always take our half sheet of cardstock and we fold it in half. And we take our bone folder and burnish that nice outer edge. Then I like to flip it around, invert the card, and do the same. So I'm just doing this twice, one on each side, and I'm getting a nice inside crease for my card base. And I'm going to go ahead and set the base aside, and we're going to start working on the rest of the pieces. There's not a lot of stamping today, so this is going to go together quite quickly. In my recipe, I show two 4 by 5 1/4 inch Whisper White pieces. One is for the inside. I like to use a Whisper White on the inside when I have a dark colored base, and one is for the outside. So we're going to work with this one first. And you can see in my card here, I've got a little fold in the corner, and then I stamped it as well. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm just going to bend the paper over. There's no right or wrong amount of bending that you can do on this. So it looks like this one that I just did here is a bigger bend than this one was. But again, there's no right or wrong. So I just bent it over and I'm using my bone folder to create a nice line right here. And now I want to stamp this. But when I stamp it, I want to make sure that I'm not getting my ink on spots that I don't want stamped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unfold. Okay, so this is the front of my white paper, and I'm going to flip it over. Now this is the back, and this part right here is what I want to stamp. So I'm bringing in the little snowflake looking, it's just little dots stamp, and I'm going to go ahead. Now I can be free here to put some on the other side of the fold and not worry about it, because again, this is the back of my card, and if I set that aside and flip this over, this is the front of my card. So when this comes over, this is what you see. So you can see that there's no green ink that splattered over, and that's how I created that little fold with that little bit of an image in the corner. So then in the bottom of this Whisper White paper, I chose to stamp Season's Greetings. I think this time I'm going to do the Thinking of You. So these two sentiments in the stamp set are the same size. As you can see, they're on the same size block. So I did Season's Greetings previously. This time I'm going to do Thinking of You. I'm going to make a Thinking of You card. And it's that easy to swap this out. So I did that with the Memento ink here. I'm just going to do a little test real quick, make sure I've got that inked up well. It looks like the U is picking up a lot of ink. Let me rotate my ink pad there. So I'm just going to stamp this down here in the bottom corner. It's just going right on the front. So there I've got Thinking of You, and this one says Season's Greetings, and this is great font. I love when they have a great font. So I'm going to go ahead and set this piece aside. This one's actually done. That will go on our card front. Now I'm going to bring in this little piece of Whisper White right here, and we're going to stamp our big focal point of the Christmas tree or the pine tree. So this is an outline stamp, and I'm going to go ahead. This is kind of a bigger stamp, so I'm going to flip it so it's facing up, and I'm going to put the Memento ink onto my stamp. So you can see that these are photopolymer stamps, and sometimes you can tell where the ink is getting good coverage and if there's low spots or high spots. So I just wanted to make sure I had a good ink coverage there. This pine tree will fit really nicely on this Whisper white paper, and it will stick. You can rub the back of it a little bit too if you want to make sure you've got good ink coverage. And I'm just gonna, whoops, pull that off, and it flipped right over on me. I'm trying really hard not to get ink everywhere today. So here's my little pine tree. Now while I have the Memento ink out, I'm gonna take this little, it looks like a little stick, but it's actually the trunk of the tree. So I'm just using Memento ink because this is my minimal supply card. You could certainly use brown if you wanted to use brown ink on this, but that is the outline of our tree. And now I'm going to bring in the shaded part of the stamp for the tree, and I'm going to do this in the shaded spruce. So I'm just going to ink this up, and I am doing a full coverage on here. Sometimes I like to stamp off, but in this case today I tried it both ways, and I preferred the darker coverage on it. And this doesn't have to be super perfect. Mine, my first one lined up much better than this one. So you're basically just stamping over top of the image. When you stamp the shaded spruce, it's going to look really, really dark. I mean, it almost looks like it's black on top of black, but as it dries, this ink will lighten up a little bit, so it won't be quite as black. So that was the stamping that we needed to do for that one. Now I'm going to bring in my other piece of Whisper White, and we're going to do, I should leave that right there, and we're going to do some more Christmas trees or pine trees stamping. So this is some more little trees, and I'm going to pull in the stamp set here just for a second. So you can see that previously we've used the outline stamp for the big one and this little trunk, and then we shaded with the green here. So this stamp is meant to go inside this one. This shading stamp is meant to go inside this medium-sized tree, and then you can see that there's an outline trees right here, and then these little trees would go inside these trees. So this is two-step stamping. So normally you would stamp the outside and then you would stamp the inside, and then you've got a bitty one here with the outline and then the one that would go inside it as well. So you can use them individually or you can use them together. So in this case, we're just using the shaded part. We're not using the outline part. And I'm going to go ahead and ink up in shaded spruce, and I've been doing this quite a bit recently. I'm actually pushing my ink block into my ink pad and getting ink everywhere. So I just used a baby wipe and I swiped that off of there. Been really good at getting ink everywhere. So I'm going to do a nice stamping, and then I'm going to stamp off immediately. I want to get a lot of shades going on in here as I go across, and you can see, I'm just going to pick this up here for a second, you can see that this is meant to be a varying shade. So you've got darker images, you've got lighter images. This is one of Stampin' Up's distinctive stamps, and I love the look of these distinctive stamps. I'm going to do the same thing all over again. I'm going to do a dark, and I'm going to do another light, and you can see that I've got a whole bunch of things going on here, and I've got more ink on my block, making a fine mess today. I'm going to now put aside the green ink, shaded spruce. I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Scrub real quick here, and I'm going to give this guy a quick wash and dry because I want to bring in the Memento ink now. So I'm going to use, again, the same stamp, and I'm going to get some black Memento ink on there, and I'm going to do a little bit here in black. So you can see that I'm just kind of over stamping, under stamping. So you can see that you've got some variations there, and it gave a great, there's like so many tones going on because we stamped in the shaded spruce, we stamped off, we stamped a Memento, we stamped off. So we've got a lot of great color on there, and that is it for the outside stamping on this card. So now we're just on to assembly. So I'm going to bring in my glue and start gluing some of these pieces together and putting them together. So this one was a super fast card, and going to try to get these lined up here correctly using my Tombow glue, which I almost thought I ran out of this week in the craft room. I had a panic moment. I did find a spare bottle and then promptly ordered a lot more. So in this case, when I cut my papers, these are meant to be the exact same size, but if I flip it over, you can see there's a little bit of white that's overhanging here. If you ever have that, you can just flip it from the back, and I'm going to do a quick trim. And I'm going to trim that paper down. I wanted them to be the same size. When I measured them, I must have been off just a tiny little bit. You can see it only cut off a sliver of that one. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere this tree onto another shaded spruce mat. And I do like to do my matting here. And so this is going on this one. I'm trying to be ever so careful and not get ink everywhere today because I know it's been all over my fingers. When the craft room is warm, I find that I transfer ink much more easily. So here's two of our pieces matted and beautiful and ready to go. And here is the outside piece that we had where we stamped our little polka dots. So when I adhere this, I'm just going to put my glue along this top folded edge, and I'm going to put it along the outside corners. And I'm not going to worry about this little flap that's open. And you're going to see why here in a minute as we continue to put it together. Now, as I'm focusing on layering this on the card, I'm focusing on getting it evenly along here and not as worried about over here because obviously this is, you know, folded down. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to do a little rubbing here to make sure that that's on there nicely, which it is. Now, the next thing we're going to put here is we're going to put the 4-inch piece across the bottom, and I kept it quite snug to the greeting as well. So I'm just going to add a little adhesive here and then get this on the card right along the front. So these are all 4 inches wide right here, so they line up beautifully. Now this is our last piece to put on the card front, and I'm going to put it on here, and I'm going to cover up part of the little fold over, so I don't have to adhere this down. I'm just going to put this over top, and I'm just kind of dry fitting it to see where do I want it to go. Now you could certainly just adhere it flat if you wanted to. What I did earlier was I took some scraps of green and I put little bump ups on here, and I don't know where my scraps of green went when I was working on this card, so I guess I'm not going to do it right now. But in other videos I've showed you that you can count up how many layers you need to go to create the same level. And I put little pieces of extra cardstock on the back and attached them so that it gave me like a false dimensional, basically is what that amounted to. But I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this down right now, and it is just beautiful like that as well. So this is the outside of our card. You can see how quick and easy that one went together. And now I have a thinking of you card and I have a season's greetings card. So this is a great, like I said earlier, multi-purpose card. And we still have the inside to do. I like to do the inside stamping as well. On my card here, I just did some more pine trees on the inside, and I just love the pine trees. So we're going to do that again. I'm going to bring in my extra piece of Whisper White cardstock. I'm going to bring back in the shaded spruce, and I'm going to, since I'm going to start with the shaded spruce, and I'm not using the Memento this time, I'm going to give this stamp a quick scrub with my Stampin' Scrub. So this time, again, I always like to stamp just down in the corner. So I'm going to stamp in the corner, and then I'm going to stamp off a little bit. And I like that, but I might want to put one more tree in. So there we go. Just like a beautiful little pine grove of trees right down there on the bottom. And that's going to go inside of our card. So I'm going to add my adhesive along the 4 edges. And I'm going to bring in my Thinking of You card and just put this right here in the middle. I always manage to get some ink where I don't want it. But that is how quick and easy that one went together. So there's the inside, and here are the outside. So we've got Season's Greetings and Thinking of You. So everyone, thank you so much for joining me today as we made a Christmas in July themed card with the In the Pines stamp set. So again, the stamp set is brand new, coming up in the August to December 2020 mini catalog. The In the Pines stamp set also comes available as a bundle, and this is a sneak peek. These are the dies that you can get, that either you can buy them separately or you can buy them as a bundle with the stamp set. So these are the dies that go with that stamp set, which are wonderful. And as well, there is a really fantastic embossing folder. This one's called Evergreen Forest 3D. So there's a new embossing folder, and also there are some fantastic ribbons. This gorgeous ribbon is just, the sheen on it is beautiful, and there's nice gold cording here as well. So these extra products I used on a stepped up card of our version of the Christmas in July card. So on my blog, themainstamper.com, I will share with you the card recipe or the dimensions that went into this card and pictures of step-by-step assembly for it. And then at the end of my blog post, I like to show you another fancier version of the card or something that I've done differently. So if you'd like to see some of those additional supplies, those dies, embossing folder, the ribbon in action, head over to my blog and check out my really fancy, beautiful Christmas card. So this was my card today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you're enjoying time in your craft room. Even if it's warm, there's always just a minute or two to pop in and make something fun. So please come back and see me again on another Monday for another episode of Mondays Are Hard, Stamping Shouldn't Be. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.